Share this video on Facebook and comment in the video that you shared it so that we don't miss you when it comes to putting the names in the raffle. So we are going to get started, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a lot to go over, so we want to soak up as much time as we can. So we just want to start by just reminding everyone, we're doing these videos to share with you our experience that we've experienced in our 10 years of being married. We are in no way perfect people. We do not have a perfect marriage, nor do we want to portray that. Why do we say that? Because the things that we're going to be sharing, especially what we're going to be sharing in this video, are things that we have experienced, but also some of the things we are not doing them, or we are in the process of learning to do these things. So don't think that everything that we share on here, we're doing it, we got this thing jam-packed. No, it's just things that we learned from our own marriage and from other people's marriage and other resources and things that we learned that we want to share with you, so that we can all learn, right?
Yeah, we're all learning. We're both on a boat with you guys, all of us learning. And I do want to be clear though with that, because before we go in on the camera, when we turn on this camera, we talk about this. We go through everything we have in mind, the things that we've been, talking, and things that we've been going through in life, just to be, just to communicate with each other. And I do keep saying this, and I know you just said this, but it's actually, I want to correct that a little bit, because we do not, if it's something we don't know or we don't practice, we try not to talk about it.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that we're pursuing or we're putting into practice.
That's
so
better
I want to
said.
be clear with that. We're not going to be here just telling you things just because we want to give you a good word or a good comfortable thing to do, or a console or whatever. That's something that is not, we're not walking. I think that's not fair for you. That's not fair for ourselves.
Right.
So we're in this together.
That's good. So we've learned things from other people. We've learned things in books as well that we are working towards. Like I said, or like we both said, we don't have this thing perfect. And we say that so that you guys can relate. So this week's video is on physical touch. We are going to be talking about physical touch, right? Affection in that aspect. And we're also going to be talking about intimacy when it comes to sex. So we just want to throw that disclaimer out there. We're not going to go into like the nitty gritty details of it. But we do feel that it's very important, especially for the church, to educate other people in regards to the truth of what physical touch is and the truth of sex and intimacy in regards to what it says in the Word. If we don't talk about these kind of things, and we don't share our experience with other people and share about what Jesus says about sex and intimacy, the world is going to do that. So we need to make sure that we are educating our children, and we are educating and learning from one another so that we can enjoy the marriage that God has called us to enjoy, not act like we can't say the sex word. Like, it should not be like that. God created us in intimacy. He created us to be intimate people, and that includes all aspects of intimacy.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's been distorted. Sex has been distorted through things in life and in the world out there. We, and it has been taken and completely like turned around. But in reality, God created it. God created it, and He said that it was good. He said that it was to, basically the purpose of it is to bring intimacy, closeness in your relationship, in your marriage. And not only with just the sex part in general, but in everything that has to do with it, everything that surrounds that. It should be normal. It should be, it's part of how God created us to be. And it should not be, like she said, it should not be strange. It should not be uncomfortable to talk about. It should not be like it's in a box or something, like it's, oh my God, don't bring that topic. When that happens, that means that usually, most of the time, my opinion is that something is distorted in the way we think about it, or the way we were brought up, the way the experience we went through in life, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But it's something good, and it's something that it's okay. It's part of us human being. God said that it was good, so hey. So we're talking about physical touch. What is physical touch? Well, just in a few words, it's not only based on sex. You know, and when we say sex is the intercourse part, if we can be clear and honest and raw, because we're talking about this, it also can be a squeeze, you know, a rub in your back, or a little touch in the ear, holding hands. You know, it also can be, you know, yeah, like we said, I can also say, you know, closeness, just to be close to each other. That's part of physical touch.
Yeah. Any way that we touch one another is physical.
Yes.
So we want to just talk a little bit about our testimony when we first got married in regards to this area, in hopes that you guys will be able to relate a little bit and know that if you've went through this, you're not alone. So when we first got married, it was that area for us, intimacy when it comes to like sex and physical touch was very difficult for us. Yeah. Especially for me. I went through several years of being abused. So you go through those years of being abused, and then you come to your marriage with a lot of those wounds still. I was like fresh in the Lord. I think I was like 2 years in, right? 2 years,
after we married?
Yeah, it was 4 years.
You was 4 years.
Yeah, I was like 4 years or so into the Lord. And I didn't realize that I had these wounds and this hurt from the abuse that I had experienced for so many years in my life. And I noticed it when it came time for us to be intimate. So we were battling, basically. I was dealing with this hurt and these wounds from being abused for so many years that it was hard for me to be fully intimate with Raphael, because unknowingly at first, and I didn't want to be like that, but those were things that were hindering our intimacy because I was dealing with those things. So I was struggling with that and struggling with being intimate with him. And he was struggling in the other aspect because he did not understand fully. He knew, but he couldn't fully understand where I was coming from. So we were clashing. And it caused a lot of we battled so much because, and we'll talk a little bit about this more in the video, but so many things come along when you are neglecting or you're not in agreement when it comes to sexual intimacy. It could make the other person feel insecure. It can make the other person feel like they're not loved. And then on my part, I felt like, oh my God, why can't I be fully intimate with my husband? I love him wholeheartedly and I wanted to, but it was a struggle. It was a battle for me.
Yeah. And the same was for me as well, because when I was a child, I went to physical abuse as well, sexually abuse, and emotionally abuse. So it was very challenging for both of us, because then I was kind of looking to kind of restore that, using her as my healer, basically. And I didn't, instead of focusing, looking to God first before her.
Yeah.
And ask him to heal me and deal with those things that I was trying to hide. Oh, that was my past. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just something that happened because I was a child and mom and dad were not there. And if nobody were there, nobody was present, nobody there for me, then nobody has to know this and I don't have to deal with it. So put it in the back burner. But it always keep coming back to me. And the way I was responding to Vilmari, I'm going to be honest here because we want to be honest, right?
Yeah.
I was actually acting very, making her feel like it was her obligation to her to respond to me in that aspect. Basically, even if we don't see it that way, it can really add into that abuse that she went through as a child. Without her knowing, the same with her, with me. And we were not aiming in the right place. And what we were doing, we were building up more the pain, because I think part of the problem is that we didn't want to deal with it. We didn't want to ask for help. We didn't want to talk to each other about it, because it was moments that we felt like God started speaking to us, individually something's not right with her, and he would say the same thing to her about me.
Yeah.
And you guys have to heal. You guys have to come in agreement, come in a place of healing, find help, and let that go and be set free and move on in life, so then your marriage can then be healthy in that area.
Right.
And we were both avoiding it, at least from my side, because especially as a man, you don't want to tell that to your wife or your significant other or somebody else, because it's very shameful. That's why we were taught. But no, it's actually so good when you can talk to somebody about it and find help.
Yeah.
And tell somebody, listen, I went through this when I was a child, and my relationship with my spouse is not healthy, or with my even children, or with people, just because I haven't closed that door and I haven't forgive myself or even forget other people.
Yeah.
And those are things that I my advice for you guys that are watching, if you know somebody or you're going through this, don't wait too long, don't waste years, don't waste any more months. You are ready for all that process or all that time that you went through that's enough hurt. You don't want to add up to the hurt that you've been through.
Yep.
Make it stop. It's up to you. You make that decision. Who cares what other people will think about you? Who cares what other people said that, oh my God, you went through this? At the end of the day, we all have a past. We all have something, and we all need help. Yep. No matter how great of a life you had. Yeah. Even those that were brought up with a good parents and good life, there's always something that we have to come to the Lord about. So
we either deal with the situation,
yeah,
confront it. It's going to be difficult. It's going to hurt. It's going to take a process of healing. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you either go through that right away, nip it in the bud right away, so that you can enjoy your marriage to the fullest capacity and get through those humps and grow even stronger with your spouse.
Yes.
Or you can continue to hide it for many years and just not continue to grow from there. Yeah. And honestly, like Rafi said, we all going through something. We're all going through something. It's just a lot of people don't talk about it. So do yourself a favor, you and your significant other, you and your spouse, talk about it, deal it, get with the help that you want or that you need, so that you can enjoy your marriage to the fullest and you'll be able to help others. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's a little bit of our part. So what happened? What did we do? Communication, which we're going to talk about communication in regards to that aspect. We compromised. There was an agreement there. We allowed each other to be heard, and we understood each other. And we said, okay, this is where you're coming from. This is where I'm coming from. We're going to meet in the middle. This is what we're going to do to make this work, so that we can both continue to heal and we can both enjoy our intimacy with one another. And I like what Ralphie said. It's getting a balance, and it's coming into agreement and working towards your goal, what it is that you want. Okay, so moving on from that. All right. We're just going to get right through it. So men need sex. It is a known fact. You know it. It's the truth. There's no way to get around it. Men need it. It's like in their DNA. It's how God has created them to be. So, Rafi, you want to talking about that?
It's normal. It's okay, men, to feel that way. To feel like you want to have sex intimacy with your spouse. Because God created you that way. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a sin. It is nothing horrible. It's not like you're going... you will know the balance. If you're completely like there's something that you struggle with that you always want it all the time, or it's way too much, then there can be a minor problem or a big problem.
Okay.
But that naturally you just attractive and you are turned on by your spouse and you want to meet her, so in the room and stuff. It's not a sin. God created men that way, and we have to be okay with that. I feel like, and nothing to throw darts or anything negative towards any group of people, any type of people, none of that. This is not what we're here for. But it's like Mari said at the beginning, we have to be okay, us, the sons and daughters of the Lord, the church. We are the body. We are the church. Remember, it's not the building. It's us.
Yeah.
We have to be okay with that. And we have to be okay with having that in part of our life. Like a man needs that. I mean, obviously there is a balance. There's a way to come across. But it's nothing out of this world. And it should not be something that is like, oh my God. You know what I mean? At least for my perspective and listening to other men, other friends of mine that are close to me, that I will ask them questions in this kind of questions like this. We had conversations this way. Because it's okay to have this type of conversation to grow, as long as your spouse are in agreement that you talk to certain things about your intimacy, not about your spouse, but it's things that you might need help, or you just want to discuss with somebody else. And majority of the answer is that they feel empowered. Like this is part of how they're made, and when they have that moment, they feel, like they're released, like they released something. They feel like they were basically a place of, it's a safe place for them, for men with their spouse. And it's also a place where they feel like, like I said, it's like, yes, I'm created for this. You know what I mean? And it's okay. Simple as that.
So women, men need sex. And we're going to talk a little bit in regards to all of that. But we feel like you got to get that out, and we just got to get it through their head. You can't, and women, I know we talked about this in one of our other 5 love languages video. It's okay. It's a good thing that they want you all the time. Like we said before, there's the people that they would love for their spouse or their significant other to desire them. Be grateful that he desires you so much, that he wants to be intimate with you, that he finds you attractive. Those are good things.
As long as there is a healthy way to do it, because like we said, if it's excessive or it's way, like, it's like everything. And everything in life, we have to have balance. Eating, it's not a sin. But if you eat too much, it becomes a sin, because then you're depending on that. So the same with sex. It's a good thing as long as you don't overdo it or you depend on that. That is something else. And then we don't want to bring that. We want to be clear here that we're not telling you do it as much as I no. There's a balance. It's healthy. It's good for you. It's how God created us, and it's part of our marriage to have it. But also, it's not for us to allow that to dictate us or to be the focal point of everything. Right. There's a balance. Yeah, like when me and Ralphie were talking about in the beginning of the video. You have to come into an agreement, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. So for me, when we first got married, since I came from that abuse, and because I grew up in a home where my parents weren't affectionate, so it was hard for me. It was very hard for me to be with someone that is so affectionate. He's so loving. He was just completely opposite of mine. So what do you do? So I want to share with you guys some things that I did in order to help me. Actually, some of the things here, it's not coming from me. It's things that I've got that other people do. So let me just correct that a little bit. But things that you can do if you're not naturally a physical touch person and you have somebody that it's their love language. Get your mind ready for it. So think about the other person throughout the day. Obviously, you're not. I think you do that. Yeah, no, I mean like everything that I'm gonna. Yeah, but it's like what you're saying here. But this one, I don't do that one. Yeah. I don't do that one. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, people. We continue. So think about the other person. So think about the person throughout the day. Obviously, you're not thinking about them doing laundry or anything like that. You're thinking about them like sexually, how they look, things that arouse you or whatever. You're going to think about them throughout the day. Throughout the day, give them affection. Maybe you or her, depending on the situation that you're at. Maybe you don't want to, but trust me, it's going to help you. Mm-hmm. Like kiss them or hug them. Like throughout the day, just to get yourself ready for that moment. Get yourself, okay, so
think about what you can do to get yourself in the mood. Some women like to dress up in something sexy for their spouse. Some people shave. Some men, get themselves nice and ready. Whatever it is that is going to get you in the mood for that time, do it. Get yourself ready. Get your mind ready. And then get your physical ready as well. So this I don't do, but I do know somebody that has shared in the past that they actually set an appointment. And that's okay. I can't do that. I can't have in my mind like
we cannot do that.
Tonight at 7:00. It's just not the way that we work.
Or every Saturday night.
Yeah, that's not us.
For me either. It doesn't work for us like that.
Yeah, but this person though, they have such busy lives, and this works for them, and that's quite all right. So what they do is they set an appointment. I think it is so like they'll both know that tomorrow at 8:00 or tomorrow in the evening, like it's the time when they're gonna get together and get it on, basically. Yeah, so, and that's quite all right. There's nothing wrong with that, but think about things that you can do if you're not a physical touch person, if you're not a person that it's hard for you to like be intimate. Think about things that you can do to get yourself ready for your significant other. Okay, so we are, all right. So we did want to share with you guys about the dangers of neglecting one another. We're talking about here about being intimate, what we can do to help us to get to that place of intimacy. I wanted to have the scripture there, but 1 Corinthians 7:4-5, it says, for husband and wife not to neglect one another, unless it's like to pray, and then after they're done praying, then they come together again. So the scripture tells us that it's very important for there not to be neglect. Some things that we found is when there is neglect. So what do we mean by neglect? Either the husband or the spouse wants to be intimate with the person and the person doesn't want to. Mm-hmm. It's okay if you're not, let's be realistic, you're not going to want to do it all the time. You're not going to want to do it all the time. But let's say it's a constant neglect. Like weeks go by and there hasn't been any kind of intimacy. That is considered neglect. It can make the other person feel insecure. It can make the other person feel like they're not loved. It can make the other person feel like they're not attractive for you, or they could lose attraction for you because you're not building on that intimacy that God created us to have. I've seen people that it's like if they're friends. Yeah. It's what it's like.
It's more like a friendship than a relationship, intimate relationship that way, that aspect of marriage, and that's always been back on my mind, honestly. It's not with fear that I would think I don't want to fall into that with Bill Mari, but we had to be aware of that. This is my spouse, this is my wife.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, that we always said from the beginning, marriage is about growing in love, not falling in love. It's growing in love, so it's a daily thing that you work on.
Yeah.
So that won't happen, because it can happen to any of us.
Yeah. So we've seen people that it's kind of like they have a roommate, and you don't want to fall into that, because really that's not a marriage. So dangers of neglecting each other. Okay. You can't, let's be realistic. You can't have a healthy marriage if you don't have intimacy. You can't. There's certain things that are involved in marriage, and intimacy is like the basis of it all. Your intimacy physically, you're intimate, with your words. Intimacy is like what holds the marriage together. If you have one of those missing components, you're not going to be able to have a healthy marriage.
And it's beautiful you say that, because it's the only thing that separates you from everybody else. You have relationship with everybody, but the intimate part is what makes a marriage.
Yeah.
Because then if you don't have it, then that's another person that you have a relationship with, another friendship. So that should be one of the focal point, one of the things that's why you set yourself for that person. You are transparent, you are open, you're vulnerable, you're naked in front of that person. I'm not saying just about naked physically, but in all aspects.
Yeah.
That's why you came together to be married, to be together. So if that's missing, then it's not healthy. It's not a good thing, because then basically it's just pointless. Basically, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So that's that thing that you said, oh my God, intimacy, some people are uncomfortable. But that's what separates you from everybody, for other relationships. That's the difference between your spouse and everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna jump over here since we're talking about that. Sex is important. It's important, and it's in the Word. If we see Genesis 1:28, God tells us to be fruitful and multiply. Yeah. How are you gonna be fruitful if you're not being intimate? So that's like a benefit of having sex, is you get to create life. Wow.
Yeah.
You and somebody else are getting with the power of God. He's the one that creates the living person in you. But God said, you and your spouse are going to partner with me, and we are going to create life. So when you are coming together with your spouse and you're having sex and you're being intimate, you are creating life. Wow.
And you know what, it's beautiful you say that, because not only in the aspect of intercourse, but the intimacy coming together, you're building life.
Yep.
You're creating life. It's amazing.
That's good.
That's beautiful.
We're bearing fruit. I put here, we can bear fruit, or we bear fruit when we are bearing children, right? We're bearing children. But we bear fruit when we're intimate. There's love, joy, peace, patience. Those are the fruits that comes out of our intimacy with our spouse. Look at your husband after you're done being intimate. The joy of the Lord is all over him, okay? And for the woman as well. So another reason why sex is important is because you become one flesh. Beautiful. And I want to hit this a little bit. This is the benefit that we have when we are in the Lord. What is it? Okay, whether you're a believer or you're a non-believer, when you have sex, you connect. You're one flesh physically in the body, right? You get that in all aspects. You're connected with the other person mentally. You're both thinking the same thing. You're having sex, you're getting to, you're enjoying whatever all those thoughts are. You're both connected mentally, right? Hopefully, you're both connected emotionally. But if you're having intimacy outside of marriage, that, honestly, sorry to say, that's a little shaky. But this is the benefit that you have as being a believer full of the Holy Spirit, is that you get to connect with your spouse in the spirit. And whether you want to believe it or not, the spiritual realm is more real than this earthly realm. So to know that you get to enjoy your spouse in all aspects of what God said marriage is, or intimacy is intended to be, you're connecting in the spirit. That's something that the unbeliever, somebody that doesn't have the Holy Spirit, you can't get to enjoy. You don't enjoy the benefits of that. There's times that we've been intimate with one another, a lot of times, that, Ralphie's like speaking in tongues while we're being intimate.
It's reality, because it's true. When that happens, it's literally, it's connecting in espíritu, alma y cuerpo.
Yeah, spirit, soul, and body.
It's very powerful.
Yeah,
it's very powerful.
It's very good. Powerful. That's good. There's times that I remember there's one time that, we were intimate, and after we were done, I literally felt like there was like a cloud of glory in our room. There's times that we've been intimacy and we have been intimate, and I just hear a song that the Holy Spirit, you can experience each other, and you can experience the Lord in such a fresh new way when you are connected in all those four aspects. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that connection is like when you are intimate outside of the marriage. Ralphie will talk about that a little bit later. So, why else is sex important? Because it was made for you to enjoy. it's something you to enjoy. It's one of the greatest. Well, I love food, but it's one of the greatest pleasures that you can have in life is sex and intimacy. Read the Song of Songs. It's full of intimacy and lovemaking. Proverbs 5:18-19. Oh, it's so good. Read it. I was supposed to write it down. I didn't write it down, but read it. Proverbs 5:18-19. Talks a little bit about that. So, sex is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. It's not supposed to be a chore. And I feel like a lot of people kind of fall into that place of, and I'm not gonna lie, there's times that if I don't watch myself, I will fall into that place of, oh, I gotta do this. Let's be honest. There's times that you're tired, whatever the case, but it shouldn't be an all the time thing. It should not feel like a chore. It should be something exciting. It should be something fun. Ecclesiastes 9:9 says, enjoy life with the woman of your youth. So the scripture is just full of word that it tells you about the greatness of sex and
youth
intimacy.
is not just someone that is young in age. Youth means when you have energy to live it, when you have a life that you can enjoy. Things that you cannot enjoy when your body's giving up, basically. So you say, oh, that's for when you're young. No, when you are young in body, young in soul, young in spirit, that you have so much life in you to enjoy life. That's what youth means.
That's good. So communicate your needs. Communicate your needs in regards to intimacy. And before we head there, I want to talk a little bit about insecurities. And we all have them. We all have insecurity in different aspects, in different ways, but we all have them. But it's very important that those insecurities are talked about with your spouse and that they are communicated. And I want to show a little bit about the different ways that those insecurities look. So like I said, we all have insecurities, but when they're not dealt with, when they're not talked about, when they're not worked on, it can really damper your marriage. The person that is insecure is constantly saying, and I've seen this in other people, they're constantly talking about this insecurity with their spouse, like constantly just throughout the day. Things like, I'm ugly, I don't like my hair, I'm fat,
I have Tito's.
I have love handles. That's what that means. I have love handles. I wish I had. I wish I had. I don't have. I don't have. You are constantly saying that. So you are constantly reminding yourself and putting in your mind, I lack, I lack, I lack. So when it comes time to intimacy, what are you thinking? I lack, I lack, I lack. He or she, if it's the man or the woman, they don't like this about me. I'm this, I'm that. And it's ugly. Sorry, I don't know any other way to put it. And it's very unattractive. And your spouse probably doesn't like that you're saying that about yourself. And to your spouse, to the other person that is listening, they are looking at you like, that's not attractive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're looking at you like, and don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It needs to be communicated, but when you're constantly saying it, like, who wants to be around somebody that is constantly just saying all these negative things about them? Yeah. So as the other person looking at the spouse, I'm trying to say this correctly. As the other person looking at the spouse, if you see that your spouse has insecurities, encourage them. Boost up their energy, build them up. Build them up. Those are ways that you can help. But Ralphie made a good point when we were talking about it earlier. You talk about them, but work on those things. I'm fat, or I have Chichos. Go to the gym then, or go watch what you're eating. You don't like the way your hair looks, then go to the salon and fix yourself up. Don't just talk about it, but do something about it. You want to?
Yeah, like if there's a problem, and just know that it's an opportunity for change, for something better.
That's good.
It should not wear you out or make you feel like you're not enough, or here we go, I have something else wrong to deal with. No, it's an opportunity for greatness, for better. I want better all the time. I'm not gonna come. We both that in the house. We both enjoy, even though it can be painful or hurtful or uncomfortable. We enjoy the better. And for the better, you have to let go of things.
Yeah.
For the better, you have to know that you have to work on something. And if there's something that is wrong, just know that you have to not only talk, have a conversation with the spouse, significant other, with the family, whatever it is. And this is for a solution, not just to talk about it and I'm going to tell you this and don't tell me what to do. Or don't correct me or don't try to help me.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to... Because it's this moment that you express yourself, you just want to be heard. I get that. But when it's a problem that is causing problem in your relationship, then it's not about just you. It's about the other person as well. So that other person should have a say as well.
Yeah.
And also be involved in bringing a solution together, coming together and say, hey, we're going to push this problem out and we're going to find a solution for it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to bring the problem on the table and not do nothing about it, not change something that you have to be willing to do from your part, then what is the point then? And then guess what? If you don't deal with that, it's okay. That's your choice. But if you don't deal with those things that are hindering or bringing neglection in your marriage or your relationship with a spouse, it's always going to be coming up in the surface all the time. It's going to be constantly coming back until you don't deal with it and say, no more. God has something better for me. Yeah. And that's awesome. That's good. That's so good.
And guys, men and women, encourage each other. I think we talked about this in one of our videos. Tell the other person how great they look. Mm-hmm. Tell them what you like about them. Tell them that you like their haircut. Tell them that you like the way, those jeans look on her, or how that shirt looks on her, or how the shirt looks on him, or the pants, or whatever, or the hat, whatever it is. Compliment each other as much as you can, especially when you know that your spouse is dealing with a certain insecurity, because it's going to boost them up and it's going to remind them of all the things you like physically about them, that when it comes time to be intimate, hopefully those are the things that will be in their mind, that they know that when it comes time for you to touch them in a certain area that they're insecure about, they already know that you've affirmed them there, that you've made them feel beautiful there in that area, and they feel comfortable with it. And they're more comfortable in their skin. So they're more comfortable being, naked and exposed in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So communicate with one another. Communicate in all aspects. Talk to each other. Listen, I like when you do this to me. I like when you touch me here or when you kiss me here. I don't like when you do this or when you do that. We tried that.
When you touch this, when you touch that.
Yeah. We tried that and I didn't really like that. But let's try something else. Yeah. It's very important that you communicate those things so that you're both on the same page and you both know, like, oh, he likes this, so now I know next time I'm going to do this, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I understand, marriage is supposed to be for each other. So I make a decision to marry her, and it's about her from my point of view. And her point of view is about me. It's supposed to be always the opposite. It's not about yourself. That's number one. Number two, I want to bring up that there's sometimes when that's being said, that you're giving yourself away for that person, and that person likes this, even though you're uncomfortable, you're going to do it. If it's in an extreme that is really causing you pain, or causing you, and when I say pain, it's not pain physically, like emotionally it's hurting you, or it's not going well in your head, it's not healthy. You have to talk about that, even though you want to be willing to give yourself for that person. If it's not something that it's not bringing like a good balance, even though you're for that person, you have to talk about it. Because, your intentions might be right to respond to your spouse, because it's not about you, right, what I just said. But at the same time, if there is something that is causing you, that is just you're not getting it, or it's not just sitting right with you, talk about it, because maybe they're doing that or expecting you from that because they think that's what you want, and there's this lack of communication.
Yeah.
And reality is not what they want. So this is why you have to talk about things.
Yeah. And even after you're intimate with your spouse, talk about it afterwards. Like, talk about the good and talk about the bad. Communication is key. Obviously, we see in every single aspect of your marriage.
Yeah.
Especially in this one. And I want to give a quick example that I was talking to Ralphie about earlier today. The one time I was in a worship service and they were doing the worship. For those unbelievers that don't know what I mean, it's like the singing part where we sing and we dance and we sing songs to the Lord. So they were doing the worship, and it was like that day, like I love worship. So I'm like, yes, like we're singing, we're in it, you know? And I just felt like that day, it was like so rushed. Like one song after the other, like it was just so rushed. And
hurry up, get it done.
Yeah, I was like, get it done, get to preaching. And after the service was done, that I left with this like, like I just wanted to like enjoy it more. You know, God says to me, this reminds me of when people are intimate and they have a quickie. And let me just throw this out there. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a quickie. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it just was like a reminder from God, like sometimes in our intimacy or even in our relationship and anything that we do, we just kind of rush through it, right? Let me just hurry up and get this over with. And it can let the other person feel like, like you're just getting this over with, like you're not even enjoying it. And it can make the other person feel like, I don't know, like I wanted more, like I'm not filled, I'm not, like I'm not satisfied in this area. And like I said, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a quickie, but a quickie all the time, I don't suggest it. Take your time and make love to one another as much often as you can. Take your time to kiss and embrace and just really enjoy the other person. And if you want to do a quickie, like I said, you know, sometimes when quicking is fine, make sure that you're both in agreement to do that. So that the other person is not left unsatisfied. Yeah. Oh, they wanted to say something else. We're looking at you. No. All right. So, I think that is. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna hit this, and then you're gonna talk about that. Yeah. So, intimacy. We're finishing up. Intimacy sex takes your intimacy to a completely other level. This connection that you have with the other person, it's sacred, you're vulnerable, you're literally naked in all aspects, and in all senses. We are valuable people. We are precious unto God. Christ died and gave his one and only son for us on the cross. Like we are not trash. We are not just any other thing. We as humans are valuable and precious, and
every human being, believer or non-believer, we are all made on his image. We are different between believing in the Lord, and I feel like I have to say this right now, sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
It's that we haven't, those that know the Lord, they have found who created them and their purpose in life. That's the difference. That's what makes us different. It's not that we're better than anybody. When you find God, you find everything. You find your life. You find everything that you were created to be. But all of us, every human being, every single human being in this earth, we're all created in God's own image. Just let that sink in. God's own image. Every human being in the whole world. Yeah,
that's beautiful. So we're valuable, right? I wanted to hit this before we finish the video. Guys, keep yourself physically attractive for your spouse. God We get lazy, especially when it's
God.
been a few years. Guys, don't get lazy. Guys and girls, do not get lazy. There's times that, like just this week, Ralphie was like, listen, I've been home for the past few weeks. And Ralphie's like, listen, like, can you do your hair a little bit? All right, sure, I have to do my hair. Because you want to be attractive for your spouse. If how we were talking about before, like if you're, gaining weight or you're not happy, like go to the gym, keep yourself looking good, fix yourself up, get a nice little outfit, do your nails, get yourself, nice and shaped up like Ralphie has right now.
She likes it like this. So.
I do. So do things that is gonna make your spouse be attracted to you. Don't think that because you've been married for so many years, it's their duty to be attracted to you. No, listen, yes, you are supposed to love through death and suffering and whatever. I agree in that. But if you want to have your spouse want you, take care of yourself.
Keep it growing.
Yes.
Keep it going,
Yeah, that you can look at your spouse and say, ooh, you look nice in that. You know what I mean? Keep it fun. All right, so we're valuable. We don't just give ourselves to anyone, right? We take the time to take care of ourselves, to remain healthy. And, we do all this. We live life. And we're so precious that we are not to give ourselves to just anyone. And here we're going to talk a little bit about having sex outside of marriage and what that can do. Sorry.
Yeah, and so we mentioned that when you get intimate with somebody, you get connected, spirit, soul, and body. And this is why we believe in marriage. This is why the word teaches us that it's good to marry, so you can find fulfillment in your relationship with your spouse. It's a lot of people nowadays said it's just a paper. Well, it might be just a paper in front of man, but in front of the Lord's blessing is a different story.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, I'm gonna give myself away for this person, and you want God to be the center of your relationship with that person and bless it and make it happen and bring sense of your life together, right? And bring into different lives together. So when this is why a lot of the time, well, not a lot of times, it's just, it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. When you get intimate with somebody, sexually intimacy, you connect with that person, automatically your soul becomes one. It just connects. It just connects. Interesting. Just remove it. Yeah, just in case it happens again. So it connects. It's become, that's why we I know a lot of you guys might hear this word. It's soul ties. Literally your souls tied up and creates a knots together. And that's just hard to let go. That's why when you go through breakups with somebody, it's so hard. It's difficult because especially if you have sex with that person, if you were intimate with that person, intercourse in that aspect, if I can be clear, because your soul got caught up with that person. It's tied up. And so you have to go through a process of completely untie that knot and let go.
Yep.
And it happens a lot. That's what you see when you have intimacy for the first time with somebody. You know, that's something that no one will ever forget. Because that was the first time you were
when you
tied
lose your
up.
Virginity, yeah.
You were tied up with somebody. You experienced what is to connect with somebody in an all different way. Yeah. Not just body, not just
we're talking about
it's soul.
Physically, every
you
aspect,
discover a new world. Literally, that's what happened in the atmosphere and the spiritual realm. You are connecting in a different area with that person that you never experienced before. So this is why it's so serious. When you open a door to somebody and lay in a bed with that person, this is why you have to have in your mind, you know, yes, it is wrong. Yes, it is a sin when you're not married, and this is this is it. But if you think about it in that aspect, most of the time we end up falling for it and doing it, knowing that God will forgive us. Got it, and God will forgive you. That's no problem with it. Of course He would. Yeah. But when you know the responsibility, the deepest things that this can bring when you come together and tied up with somebody, you will think it twice. You will think it again and say, you know what? Hold on. hold on, I had to really think through, because this can really bring a lot of damage in my life, in my soul, in my spirit, and people around me, and that person. And that's why a lot of the times people go through things and they feel certain things that you're like, this, why do I feel depressed, or why do I go through this? This is not even mine. And when they figure it out, they find out that the person they're tied up with is the one going through that. That's how powerful it is when you come together with somebody.
Yeah.
This is real stuff. This is not only because we are believers and we say this because the Bible says so. No, scientifically this is proven. There's a connection when a woman and a man and this intercourse going on.
Powerful.
There's a very powerful thing that happened.
Yeah.
There's a switch of thing happening between and intercambio de cosas. ¿Cómo se dice? Exchange. It's something that's real. So this is why, if maybe some of you guys needed this answer for somebody or for yourself. Oh, now I know why I cannot let go of this person. Now why I cannot let go of this toxic relationship, even though I'm going through abuse, or I'm going through this, but I cannot let this person go. Because you have to renounce. You have to literally renounce and say, I'm done. I let you go, and I have to, you do you and I do me. You have to speak to yourself and say, no, this is not healthy for me. This is not what God asked for me. I let that person go. And you have to literally renounce to that person. It's serious stuff.
Yeah.
It's very serious. It's real.
Yeah. So get married.
Yeah.
Get married with the right person. Don't just get married because you want to have
sex. This is why it's a beautiful thing, marriage. And now you understand why we say this. It's not just a paper.
Yeah.
It's a blessing of the Lord. Paper, yeah, for the world, for the people. Yes, we signed that paper. We signed that consent that we're legally married. But when you take that responsibility and say, Lord, this is the person I want you to bless me with, that's a whole different ballgame. That's another dimension.
That's another
powerful. Video. When you say, Lord, come in and you be the center of a relationship, it's amazing. It's not perfect marriage. It's not gonna be a beautiful everyday thing, because it's not. But it's just God brings sense to that, and He brings always, His blessing, and His blessing is so good.
Amen.
It's so good.
Yeah. So we know that you guys got something out of our video. Why do I say that? Because I know that God doesn't ask us to share these things for no reason. And if you're listening to the video, it's because God wants to say something to you. So, share this video. There's people out there that need to hear it. Guys, we encourage you to continue to work on your marriage. I say this all the time, and I feel like maybe you guys think it's so cliche, but it's so true. Like, being married is one of the greatest gifts that God has given you. You can have a great marriage. You can be happy and be married. Yeah. We know people that have been married for 30-some years, and they are happily married, and they're still affectionate with one another, and they're still loving on one another.
We know this a specific couple, right?
Yeah, there's people out there.
Take care of each other.
There's people out there that are happily married, and we know without a shadow of a doubt that is what God has for us, and we want that for you guys. So continue to work on your marriage. If there's something that you want us to talk more about, please reach out to us. If you are looking for help in a certain area, if you're looking for prayer, reach out to us. Yes, we will definitely pray for you. We will help you with as best as we can. And if there's something that's a little bit out of our range, or that we maybe know someone else that can help a little bit better, we will connect you with the right person. There's resources that we have that we can give you information on. And that's it. We're good?
Yeah, I just want to say something before we close, because it's all this and physical touch. And I just want to bring a point here that I think it will help you out to understand how powerful is physical touch in your relationship. If we go to the word, to the scripture, there's different scriptures that mention about laying of hands. And that's a different kind of like way out of marriage, but it has to do with it. It is so powerful when you just touch somebody. even those that don't like to be touched, there's moments that they need to be affirmed with a touch, or even a hug.
Yeah.
Even a hug. You have no idea what they've been through that week or that day, that you just hug that person and you just give them strength. That's how powerful it is to touch one another. And Vilmar is one, you know, that's one of my love language, physical touch. She can just do this to me and forget I receive healing. I'm speaking from someone that feeds from that. I have received healing emotionally, physically, because her just touching me and embracing me. Because sometimes you don't have words to say to me, but just by her doing this, God used that to literally set me free, to literally put me in balance, to literally, it's powerful. And like I said, if we take this to the word, the laying of hands, so why do we lay hands? And because there's something that God always want to impart through us, through one another. And that's how powerful it is to the physical touch.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that out and just know that this is not just because you just want to be sexual. Like I said, it's not just about sex, but it's about how beautiful and how powerful it is to just hug somebody or just shake their hand, you know. And I tell you this because and I feel like very emotional right now.
Okay,
you know, when I started knowing who I was in the Lord and meeting God in that place, I went through a childhood that I was rejected. And God completely turned that around when I met him, and he showed me what was his love. And I'm completely the opposite. For me to reject somebody is very hard. You can ask her. It's completely the opposite of what I went through, because God flipped it. That's one of the first things he did with me. This is wrong. Rejection is not from him. And he completely flipped that around, that I will hug everybody. I will hug female, male, everybody. The same way. I didn't treat them differently. But I had to learn that it's not for me not to hug them or not to let them go or treat them differently, but there's a boundary, there's a balance, and you have to be careful how you do it. Just because you don't know the person's intentions or you don't know the person's situation at that moment, and also out of respect for your spouse and each other and yourself. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna be completely physical with a person, because even shaking a hand to somebody can mean so much.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that, you know, do it. Practice it in your marriage. If it's hard for both of you to do that, like Mari said, because even both of you might not like it, you have to practice.
Yeah.
Practice, because I tell you, it just really empowers your relationship, and it really affirms your relationship, and it really gives you a sense of humanity. You are human, and God created us that way.
Yeah.
We are meant to connect to each other.
Yeah, so, we're meant to be vulnerable with one another. When Ralphie was saying about if there's two people that if it's difficult for both of you to be physical, I was just thinking something in my mind. I remember for me, when I was in that place that it was difficult for me to be physical with Raphael, there was like a vulnerability that I didn't wanna. Can you tell the boys to lower the voice? We have kids, as you guys know, and they're being loud. When I first got married with Raphael, there was a vulnerability that I didn't want to tap into. I didn't want him to see the real me. I didn't want him to see that I can be soft or that I cared about things, or it was like a front, if I could say. It was a wall that I had. It was like a wall that I had, and it was difficult for me to allow Ralphie to come into that. So I encourage you guys that in a marriage, your spouse is the safest person, should be the safest person that you can be with. Your spouse is the person to see all those vulnerable, uncomfortable areas, because that's why they said I do. You know what I mean? Like, I have to be completely comfortable with Ralphie seeing my insecurities, with him, seeing when I'm hurt, when him seeing everything. He should be seeing everything in regards to me, because when you think about it, who else can you be yourself with?
Yeah.
You may have friends and relationships and stuff, but your spouse should be the person that you can be 100%, like how we were saying earlier, completely naked in all aspects.
Yeah.
You know, see the ugly, see the good, and be completely okay with that. So I just encourage you guys, if you're in that place where you are struggling, and you just don't feel that you want to be affectionate, or you're scared, fear plays a big part of that. Seek help. Seek help, really. Seek help from the Lord. Seek help from other people. There is another side to all of this. You can get to the other side. There is help and there's healing at the other end. And at the other end, that's where God wants you to be. So,
yeah,
good.
I think we're done. A little bit long, but we feel like this had to be spoken.
Yeah.
Again, we're speaking from a place of transparency. You know, there's a lot of the things that we're talking that we're currently working on as well.
Yeah.
Because we have to be okay with that. You know, we have to be okay with talking to each other when we're going through it as well. It's so easy to, and I always mention this because I want you to get it. Those that are watching and those people that may be scared to be real with people in your process. They're just human like you are. So you're not fooling anybody. It's so easy to say things when you go out, you know, after you got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Or you pass it. It's so easy to do that. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to speak to somebody when you are being healed. When you're going through that journey that's a little uncomfortable. And that's what we're trying to do with you guys. That's what God put in our heart. This is it. This is it. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to grow together and heal together.
Yeah.
And move forward together, you know?
Lucha. All right, guys. God bless you. Thank you for watching our video. Share the video. You don't know who needs to hear this. And yeah, we will see you next time. God bless you guys. Bye.
Bendiciones.